externed at Cannell and Connor, PC. I actually externed under Mr. Cannell. It's a general practice firm. It's located in Surfside Beach, South Carolina. So I did kind of a hybrid externship. So primarily remote due to the distance, but I was able to attend some hearings, which was a really great experience. And then I also got to attend some depositions. And mostly I just did research and then writing memoranda and some other different tasks. One of the primary ones was doing a lot of deposition summaries. And so I guess my main tips would be to communicate to the externship supervisor as much as you can. I think time management is a really important one too, especially being remote, because I didn't really have a set schedule. I had to make that myself. And then also take advantage of every opportunity, especially being remote, to be able to go to those in-person things.
All right, so I'm Taylor. I externed at the Greenville Law Firm. It's actually located downtown, like right next to the Citadel, so it's like super close by. They say that they're a trial firm that focuses primarily on personal injury matters. The attorney that I specifically work under, he focuses on personal injury, estate planning, and some criminal defense. But there's 3 attorneys and 1 paralegal who all have I think over 40 years combined of legal experience. So that was really cool to learn from them and everything. But they all focus on their own different cases. So basically what I did at Greenville was I wrote a lot of demand letters. I went to court a lot. I wrote a lot of motions, and then just did extra research and everything. So some of my tips would be don't be afraid to ask questions, and you're all here to learn. This is exactly why we did externships. Be open-minded. If this isn't the type of law you want to get into, just be thankful that you're learning an area of the law. And speak what's on your mind. Again, we're all learning. So yeah, that's that.
I'm Austin, and I externed at Untitled Chapter Law in North Charleston. It's mostly a personal injury firm, but they've been moving slowly away from their criminal division as Alex looks to retire soon. There's 2 attorneys, 3 paralegals, and then they have 1 rotating clerk. I got to watch a couple mediations, went to trial a few times. Really got to interact with a lot of clients and kind of learn how it works with an intimate firm where they know their clients personally. One of the most important things I learned is that on the first day, Alex had on his whiteboard, help someone every day on the very top. And they had all their clients and everything that they're doing beneath it. And that really was something that I focused on my time there. Care about the clients. Their word of mouth is your advertising, so if you help somebody care about them, they'll bring more clients to you and they'll expand your firm, expand your reach in the community. And then that's just take advantage of the experience that you have, and there's a lot that you have to learn and a lot that we don't know. So it's nice to work for attorneys that know what to do. That's what
My name is Carly, and I externed at Woodman Law Firm. He just started. He opened up this firm a couple years ago, and it's really just him. And then he has a different extern every semester that he basically relies on them to do all of his research and drafting, whatnot. So I guess it was cool because it was literally just him and I all semester, and I have access to all of his files, and he really trusted me, and it kind of just seemed like I was more of a clerk rather than an intern. He mostly does personal injury. There was also a little bit of family law and criminal defense as well. It was cool. I got to go to court a lot, mostly in Berkeley County, which was a little bit of a drive. We didn't get to go to any Charleston County ones. I guess my tips for this firm is definitely ask questions, like everybody else says. Ask for feedback and use that criticism to do better on future assignments. That's something that I did. And then you get out what you put in. I definitely could have gone to the internship and just sat there and he's really busy, so he would have just let me be and not said anything. So I feel like if I didn't like ask him questions and talk, like this wouldn't have been like the experience that it was. Also, don't procrastinate because he does let you work from home a lot. So I feel like just been logging hours while doing nothing and not doing the like tasks that he was asking me to do. But I would have felt really behind because he gives you a to-do list and then expects you to have it done by a certain time. So definitely don't procrastinate so that you're not like rushing to work.
I worked at Heist Law Firm. It's a plaintiff's personal injury firm. We focus mainly on car accidents and premise liability. It's a small firm, there's only 5 people who work there. We primarily work with insurance companies and medical providers, so that's like who your day-to-day communication would be with. So that being said, like I didn't have any knowledge on like insurance or how that worked, so like asking why is gonna be like really big. You'd have to learn like how to staff policies, exhaust policies, and that's like not something you would just know. So I think the biggest takeaway would be to ask questions and ask why for anything you need help on. Yeah.
My name is Will. I worked at LaView Law Firm, which is also a very new law firm. It was just my boss, my supervisor James, and I, and one paralegal. It's primarily civil litigation, but he does have some criminal defense clients. He's located in James Island, and yeah, he gave me a lot of leeway to get involved on all of his cases. I had access to all his case files, and he really trusted me as kind of like a friend or a coworker, and we bounced ideas off of each other all day. Most of my time was focused doing a lot of pleadings and demand letters, and I did a lot of discovery requests. My advice at this firm would be try to go into the office as much as possible, although he does let you work from home. I, most of the time, went into the office so I could ask him any questions on the spot. To pay close attention to the issue at hand. It's so easy in these like personal injury cases to get sidetracked, and just making sure that you're focusing on what your client is trying to get out of it instead of what they could or what you think they could is really important. And not to be afraid to say that you don't know how to do something, because I've done that a few times with my boss and he was really good at helping me become equipped to deal with the matter at hand.
This is me. My name's Devin. I worked at the Jen McDowell Law Group, which is a fantastic law group in Mount Pleasant, and they do a lot of transactional matters. They do commercial real estate law, they do trust, estate planning, business law. They focus on serving the client, which in this aspect is usually a business. You're usually like a business person. So dealing with them, you kind of have to have different considerations, different ideas of kind of like what you're helping them with, what they're trying to look to get out of it. Because usually, they're trying to, make sure that, they're making sure that they're making money, making sure that, their business is okay, making sure, they're not going to get in any major trouble. So it's really important to make sure to have those considerations in mind when you're working at a law firm like that does business law. But also too, something that I didn't put on the slide that I like about the law firm is that they focus a little bit more on tax stuff too, which is really, really important, especially if you're dealing with businesses and stuff. And that's one of the recommendations I recommend to everybody who's watching this today, and also everyone here today as well, that it's very important to get an understanding of the different areas of law that you're interested in, and to kind of see which ones that you're looking to get involved with, because when you get into practice, you have a good idea of kind of what areas of law you want to get involved with, what areas of law you want to get more in depth with, and what areas of law you want to learn more about and get more experience with. Along with that, the rest of my fantastic panel has done an amazing job of talking about all the stuff, and I just second everything that they say. But on top of that, always do your best work. It speaks for itself. If you do good work, you'll get even better work. And it just keeps going. It's just a never-ending cycle. It's like I just think of the rain cycle back when we were in kindergarten. It's like you see the rain and then it comes back down and the clouds and it just keeps going all right. It's the same thing. It's really just the same thing. And that's what I recommend to everybody. It's remember the rain cycle. Just remember that. Also, be willing to do more work. Not only are you doing great work, do more work. Because if you do great work, you do more work, and then you do even better work, and it's just also a never-ending cycle. Folks, never forget the rain cycle. Along with this, be an invaluable asset. If you follow steps 1 and 2, you're probably doing pretty well at step 3, because attorneys love if you do a lot of work, and attorneys absolutely love if you're doing great work. So it's a win-win-win, and I highly recommend it. So my advice, keep chugging along, keep doing great, and always do your best work.
Positive there.
So I'm the sorry sucker that's the fault. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Coleman Keister. For those of you who do, keep your mouth shut. I worked at Steinberg. It's a large personal injury firm. They have lots of locations, downtown, North Charleston, ... We handle mostly motor vehicle accidents and premises liability, and your entire day basically working there is going to be drafting. So it's going to be demand letters, summons and complaints. But in that you gain like a lot of practical knowledge and experience, which I really like. You learn about e-filing. You also get a little something different with the minor settlement positions. It's kind of fun. But my tips are going to be take the time to learn the field. You know, you don't know if you're actually going to want a position here later on. Show you care, especially with the guy that you're working for. I mean, and that goes along with my other one, make a connection, because you know they're going to be an invaluable asset to you. Like the reason I joined this wasn't to, I mean, it was to build my resume and get some experience, but mostly I wanted somebody there who would like be a mentor for me, who would like show me the things to do, like people to know, like open different avenues and channels of communication. And I think that's like mostly the important thing, where you have a like profession here that is like so based upon networking. So take some time to like get to know them, and I think it goes like for the first couple weeks, like put your head down, like do the work, show that you're somebody who will be like intelligent, will get it done, and will put in the hours. But then like, you know, show them that you're the kind of guy or gal that you know you want to get a beer with, or you're cool, you know. It's like that's a big part of it. So yeah, that's what I got.
That's mine. Hi, I'm Chris. I work for Holden Wiley and House for this externship. I just want to preface and say that I enjoyed every second of it. I worked under Blake and he did mostly class search, so I did a ridiculous ton of research and drafting. He's one of the smartest people I've ever talked to. So it's like he doesn't say too much, but he's always thinking, always critically thinking. Just last week we were sitting in deposition. I was like, "Oh man, you're not really like objecting." He's like, "No, I have a plan." And he told me his entire plan afterwards. It was amazing. A couple tips I have: don't be afraid to ask for clarification. Just something I personally struggle with. I don't like asking for help ever. So don't be afraid to do that and clarify questions I had quickly. I had like a couple big projects per week, but if I needed something else to do, also don't be afraid to talk to other attorneys at the firm, because yeah, they got stuff for you to do, and I got to see other types of work that I never really considered. And also don't be embarrassed if I don't have an answer right away, because a lot of the projects I have were rather research intensive, so I had to like sit for a week on this question, just going through tons and tons of case law. I mean, when you have to research every single claim regarding to a topic, it's kind of a lot. So don't feel bad about that, and he doesn't require to answer right away. He just needs it at some point. So.
Okay, I'm Lucas. I extern at Smith Cox and Associates. It's downtown. It's 7 or 8 people, so I call it a mid-sized business and transactional firm. I was able to play a role in commercial residential closings, transfers of trust assets, rural construction, and a couple times I did waivers. My SAT supervisor was super accessible, and everyone was very helpful. So I'm very lucky to have done this. My tips are take note of who actually wants to teach you things and be very nice to them. I don't know, people say don't play favorites, but certain questions, the answer to which can be found in a simple Google search, don't ask those. Yeah, there's a couple times when my site supervisor was busy and I asked her a question that I probably didn't need her to tell me, to use my computer. And so I went back to my desk thinking I should have asked that. Yeah, and you know, walk up to whoever, doesn't matter, and say, how can I help today? I was the youngest or youngest one in the building by at least 20-something years. And so I think like there's an overall lack, or just in the legal profession, an overall lack of chill vibes. And so I think as like a young person, you can kind of bring that attitude, or a young lawyer, or someone who's soon to be a lawyer. And so make sure you bring that to work with you. So that's it.
Okay, my name's Ashlyn. I worked at Evans Smith Law Firm. Contrary to what Lucas said, we have a lot of chill vibes. So if you're into chill vibes, this might be for you. It's a small law firm. It's just one managing attorney, and we just added an associate attorney. We do mainly family law, state law, and some work in personal injury. I did a little bit of everything, just kind of like whatever was needed. One of the good things about being at a smaller law firm was you do get to go to mediation, sit in on a lot of client meetings, drafting always, but you're able to kind of get a handle on every case that comes through and kind of know like everything that's going through and see the big picture from start to finish. So my tips are to be proactive, keep good notes, and have a general familiarity with all the cases that are going through, because also kind of like Lucas said, you don't want to be asking questions that you already should have known. So a big part of that is paying attention. If you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs, go through files and see where things are, what needs to be filed, and just keep yourself updated on what's going on.
Okay, we're the nonprofit externship group. First, my name's Kendall Smith. I was a housing extern at Charleston Legal Access, and CLA is a sliding scale law firm that provides legal representation to clients based on their income. So I thought that was really cool that lower income families can get help with housing court issues or family law matters, and I think they did some other civil issues, and I know they were also, when I left the other day, they were talking about maybe moving more towards immigration, which was really cool. So basically I would just go to housing court with my supervising attorney every Monday, and then on Wednesdays we were at the office preparing for housing court the next Monday. And then my tip while working at a nonprofit that I found to be the most important was listening. So like the attorney I was working under, she was telling me, she's like, they're gonna kind of like unload on you and tell you every problem that they have, and you kind of have to figure out what's important to the issue at hand. But I would just let them talk and talk and talk, because I realized that they just need like a listening ear. They needed somebody to listen to them, because they felt like they kept going to people for help and nobody was helping them or listening to them.
I'm Dorothy, and I worked at the Mediation and Meeting Center of Charleston. And it's unique because there's only one staff person, and that was an administrator. There are no attorneys on staff. All their attorneys are volunteer, either board members or volunteer mediators. And all the work was remote, so it's great if you want flexibility to be able to do your work whenever you want. But it's also challenging because you don't have to get anything in person. There's not a lot of hands-on stuff. With a bit of a challenge. Myself on track throughout. But with any nonprofit, my tip is to be flexible, because you're just going to have to do whatever is needed at the moment. And sometimes that's not necessarily legal work. It's just whatever needs to be done, you pitch in and do it at a nonprofit.
I'm Megan Murphy, and I also worked at the Mediation Community Center. I had a different task than she did. I mainly focused on funding, because we're really low on funding. and I created a memo on that, and as she said, it's a remote position, so just be really flexible, and your tasks will change, and had things assigned to me that day, and I had to get them done that day, so it's just really easy and flexible for us.
So I'm Casey Kapowski, and I was with Charleston Criminal Legal Services, specifically with the housing court. So I was dealing with people who were getting evicted, specifically tenants. And what was cool about my externship was that I was able to do student practice, so I was actually able to represent individuals in court, which was kind of scary at first, but also kind of fun and a cool experience. So my tip was just to follow your supervisor's lead most of the time and kind of to act like a sponge, because there's situations that they've dealt with a lot and have a lot of experience with that we have no experience with. Like, for instance, I don't think anyone here would be really comfortable telling someone who has not enough money to pay rent that they're out of their house in like 3 days and like they don't know what to do and you can't really help them. So that was really interesting, and just kind of following her lead, mimicking as my supervisor does until I'm comfortable enough to have my own script and deal with that on my own.
I'm Ethan. I was the external assistant for Harris Property Preservation, and we just help owners whose property has been divided up through years of intestate or generations of intestate, so there's many owners for one property. And my tip is, if you work with multiple attorneys giving you tasks or assignments, just make sure you have the best way to communicate with them, like which way they're most responsive with.
I'm Jake or Robert or several other names in this building. So my biggest tip, I don't think anybody mentioned this, so I really want to bring it up. Don't hesitate to ask questions. Did anybody say that? No, but I mean, well, you know, it's pretty fundamental just to get in there. I mean, for us, it started kind of slow on what I was being assigned, so I just want to make sure, because a lot of, they have remote people that are there on Thursdays, but then throughout the week, people are still just kind of, you're asking questions, getting conversations going, letting them know, oh, work, becoming invested. I mean, they started throwing a lot more at us. Did a lot of family trees and a lot of math. Lots of math. Yeah, and you're going through like, you know, maybe 5, 7 generations and breaking out this family tree and then figuring out percentages based on intestate law, which anything pre-80s, whole different rules, so you know, it's fun, it's time consuming, but good experience. That's fun.
Thank you all so much. Yeah.
Okay, so we're the criminal group. My name's Maddie. I was at the Public Defender's Office. I absolutely loved my externship experience. If you're interested in criminal at all, I think working at the PD's office or even the solicitor's office is probably some of the best experience that you can get, just because there's always cases coming in. You get to go to trial, you get to prep, you get to go to the jail. So there's just a lot of opportunities to learn. My tips were kind of for like externs, particularly while we're students. I did an externship over the summer too, so I kind of compared, and I think if you have the option to try to do your externship hours in the afternoon and as compared to the morning, just because in the morning, like the lawyers are kind of still getting their coffee, they don't really have anything for you yet necessarily, and so I felt like the afternoon was better because they could kind of think about what they wanted you to do that day. And you can also stay a little longer if there's something you're really interested in, you don't have to rush to class. So that was just something I wish someone would have told me when I was making my schedule. And then, yeah, I really like visiting with clients, so I think that's where you get the most experience.
I'm Jensen. I worked for Allison Foltz. She actually used to work for David Ayler, which is like a big name here. But when he passed away, she started her own firm. So she does criminal defense, personal injury, and small business, which are 3 areas I was interested in. So I decided to join this externship. I've been able to get a little more experience with criminal defense in the last month. I've gone to some hearings.
We have a bond revocation hearing coming up, which should be interesting. So I'm getting a lot more experience with criminal, and so some of my tips would just be, go to all the client meetings, hearings, court cases, anything that you can that revolves around court, because this is pretty much remote. She's actually getting rid of her office, so it'll likely be fully remote, and this gives you a chance to kind of meet with people in person. And then don't be afraid to ask your supervising attorney for more work. I found that since Allison was a boss for the first time for me, she kind of struggled with how much work to put on my plate to see like how much I could get done and how long the assignments took. So don't be afraid to ask to take on more work. And then also learn to take constructive criticism as a positive. They're really giving you feedback to help you become a better attorney in the long run. So I found that I really had to ask for feedback because she wasn't used to giving that. But I will be her law clerk in the spring, so I'm excited for that.
That's wonderful. Several of you have been offered positions or, are going to continue relationships, which is great.
Hello everyone, my name is Will Hanson,
Hi, I'm Madison.
and we both are clerking at the Ninth Circuit Solicitor's Office. Just like you all said, it's just an incredible experience if you want any sort of criminal exposure in any aspect. It's truly an honor and privilege to work there, and you get to uphold the laws of the state, but you also get to provide a voice for the victims, and it's really an incredible experience, and we do work that revolves around so many different areas of a solicitor's practice and what each case is, each part of the stage of the process, whether it's going to be a plea or trial or anything in between.
Question about that. Now, you look fabulous.
Thank you.
And you do, it is just bare minimum business professional every day at the office. Presumably, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
I
So
mean,
Will
for the
just
most, part, it is business professional all the time, only because there's court all the time. So you will dress in business professional almost every day. Usually Fridays we have like kind of a dress down where you can wear jeans. But for the most part, you need to be prepared to go to court every single day. Because if you want to see court or anything, the solicitor's office or the PD's office is where you're going to go, because you could go to any type of hearing almost every single day.
Well, how much of like a time-consuming process is? I mean, do you ever get tired of the tie? Or you ever get tired of getting all dressed up or down?
No, I personally love it, but I know that most people don't. I don't. Madison, I have a different view.
As you can tell, sometimes I try to get as relaxed as possible.
Yeah.
In my defense, I was at work this morning, so I had to be ready. So Madison's going to talk to you about just kind of the goals and what we normally do there at the office.
Yeah, so the goals of the solicitor's office that you will encounter as being a law clerk is draft legal documents for attorneys, from prosecution memorandums to bond revocation motions. You're going to do a lot of research for attorneys on like case law that maybe doesn't quite fit in the scenarios that you're presented with. So you have to figure out how to cater that to your situation. You're going to support the needs of the attorneys. There's a lot of attorneys, there's a lot of cases. So the needs of the office change almost daily, and what that attorney needs that day changes also almost daily. You're going to review different legal documents, jail calls, witness lists, and evidence, any type of evidence, whether it's body cam footage or it's going through photos for trial or any type of trial prep. You're going to be doing that as law clerk, and then consult with the attorneys on legal tactics and getting clear guidance on projects. Not only is it important that you understand the different types of legal strategies that a lot of the attorneys want, it's really cool to actually see it in action in court. But you also want clear guidance on projects, because some attorneys, there is like a normal template for like bond revocation motions, but some attorneys don't like that template and they want it their own way. So getting clear guidance on those kinds of things, as well as due dates so that you don't miss something, is really important.
Okay, so now I'm just going to give you all a few tips. Learning information is just a daily, sometimes it's an hourly process, and your willingness to learn just has to be there every second, because I'm sure with you all as well, it's just a very, very fast type of process. And some days are slower than others, but slow days might just be normal days for other people who've had experience in different areas of the law. And in terms of flexibility, you have to be flexible. And sometimes you'll be working on an assignment and you think you're going to get it done, and then someone comes to you and says, hello, I have trial in 2 days, I need you to do research and it needs to be done now. So you just have to be ready to be able to transition and balance all those different assignments that you have and just learn how to prioritize. And that leads to the next point, asking questions, not just about the assignments, but deadlines, and just making sure you can try to front load those questions rather than when the solicitor wants the assignment is always preferred. And communication is key, but with precision is also something that's very important. And you just want to be as professional as you can. Sometimes you don't have to be. It's best if you are on the side of caution as you begin your time there. And then also just work hard, but also have fun. But the hard work will be rewarding because you are helping people. You are helping them with not just solicitors with their case, but the people who they represent in bringing justice. So that's our tips. Thank you all.
So the three of us did different government externships. I had the opportunity to work at the Corporation Counsel for the City of Charleston. They're basically the general counsel for the city council and the mayor's office, basically anything the city needs. You're kind of a general counsel for that. So my tip was to be prepared to deal with a variety of law problems. I had previously worked at a litigation firm, so I touched a lot of drafting complaints and things like that. I got to touch a lot of contracts. I got to draft ordinances. I wrote some proclamations for the city when someone went out of town, which are like the little proclamations Tecklenburg reads at the beginning of meetings. So there's a lot of really neat opportunities like that. I would also, my other tip would be to be on the lookout for unique projects or opportunities that you can add to your resume. One of the attorneys at my office kept bringing up new resume items and unique things. She kept being like, okay, well, why don't you work on this? This would be a great resume line item. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're doing those.
Okay, so I'm Cassie. I externed at the legal department for the Department of Social Services in Charleston County. I feel like my experience was unique. These attorneys aren't necessarily doing a lot of drafting. They're in court every single day, doing pretty quickly paced hearings, just because most of these situations are emergency type situations. So I drafted a lot of motions, some maybe 3 or 4 motions, but most of the time it was me just being in court. My 2 tips that I had was to not be afraid to reach out to work with other attorneys in the office. As the attorneys are in court every single day, sometimes it's hard to coordinate their court schedule and your class schedule, which isn't really flexible. And then my second one is to just ask questions. Family law is very unique to just in its own way. I have never had experience with it, so a lot of the things that they're doing is not very intuitive. So yeah, just ask questions.
All right, my name is Ebony Ivory, and I was an extern for the Charleston Housing Authority. You guys earlier in this semester got to meet my amazing boss, Eris Ferguson, aka the best boss ever. I'm so sorry you guys did not have the privilege of that experience. Yeah, so it was truly an amazing experience. My interests are in like real estate, and so this was kind of a unique way to explore the world of real estate, housing, and development. I have a personal interest in working in transactions, and I was very assertive in letting Eris know what my interests actually were. But I also got to do things like draft motions or draft negotiations and just different things. And it was really, really cool just to be there in person and to see all the moving parts, because Eris is a one-woman show. She's the only legal counsel there. And so I felt like I got to be her right-hand woman in a lot of those opportunities. So it really was a pleasure to work with her. With that being said, my tip of advice is to be adaptable and open to new challenges. Like I mentioned earlier, because my interests are with transactional things, so I love contracts and I love negotiations, and I had those opportunities, but sometimes I have to be flexible and help her prepare for housing court and get those cases on the ground and ready. And so I think when you're looking to do an externship or internship, or even when you start practice, it's very important to be flexible and have the ability to move and shift, just because I think that in the long run will make you look much more impressive to your employer, because okay, this is a go-getter, this is someone who is reliable, this is someone I can depend on. Thank you.
We are the Judicial group. We all worked at the probate court. So I'm Caroline. I did the 2-credit externship. So I worked Mondays and Wednesday mornings before class. This is my second externship. My first takeaway was before this externship, I did not realize how broad probate court was. I really just thought it was estates, but it encompasses a lot more than that. And I was able to get exposure to in-person and virtual hearings. Personally, my favorite was observing the commitment hearings, and then also drafting memos and just various research assignments.
I'm Joe. I did the 3-credit, and I also worked on Mondays and Wednesdays. I used to work from like 11 to 5 and had a little overlap with Caroline. I had some makeup days because Mondays there was holidays and hurricanes, so they were very flexible there, giving us research assignments I could do from home on the weekends, make up my hours. It was awesome. Same thing Caroline said, I didn't realize how broad the probate court was. I got the opportunity to sit in on drug court weekly with Judge Judicial, which was a great opportunity. It was really interesting to see all the resources they had for that program. I know there was attorneys from the Public Defender's Office and the Prosecutor's Solicitor's Office, so that was really great to see. Same thing too, I worked on a lot of research assignments and bench memos, which was fun to draft.
I was on my own Tuesdays and Thursdays. They got to work together. I never saw them. I had different hours because I have different class schedules on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they were really flexible about that, and working from home and stuff like that, so that was fine. Same as them, I didn't think that probate court was anything more than wills, which now that I've worked there for a semester, it's like really stupid to say, whatever. I worked with Veterans Court. I worked under Judge for a project, and that was really interesting. The main thing that I didn't realize with Veterans Court, drug court, mental health court, stuff like that, was like the overlap with criminal. I didn't know that the probate court was the one that handled like deferred adjudication and stuff, so that was really fun because I want to do criminal, not civil. No offense. I had a great time, but that's not what I want to do. So it was fun that I actually got to work kind of on the criminal side. I worked under Dina. She's a law clerk, and I did most of my projects for Judge Condon, actually, doing research and stuff like that. So I wasn't really working on cases and doing case briefs like they were. I didn't spend much time in court other than like commitment hearings, more research and writing. But it was fun. Mine was the one that I think everybody's had, which is ask questions. I have a hard time asking questions because I feel like it makes me look stupid. But the one thing that I noticed, especially at the probate court with the clerks and Judge Michelle, is really good about this. Is like they want you to learn, they want you to ask questions, and they want to help you succeed. So ask questions.
I think a few of the other groups mentioned this, but the site supervisors are very accessible. We really just sit in Dina's office with her. And they're both recent graduates of the law school, so it was easy to relate to them and be able to ask questions and not, even though they're older, they went through this process very recently. And then this externship specifically was a great opportunity to build personal relationships with the judges and also to interact with practicing attorneys during hearings. Just introducing yourself before the hearing or after doesn't take much, but it goes a long way.
Yeah, court observations were great. I loved going to court. It was a really great experience hearing the hearings, even the status conferences that are like judges' chambers type meetings. I really enjoyed the in-person ones. The virtual hearings, something I talked about with Dean in the beginning was kind of the formality with them too. Like there were people that would be hopping onto Zoom links with like filters over their faces or like crazy names. It was like formal court proceedings, and I was like, okay. Yeah, there's somebody who was driving in the middle of the court hearing, and I was like, that can't be saved.
Yeah, there's one with the Fox filter over his face the entire time. Yeah, so hard to keep a straight face, even the judges struggle with that.
No, those are great tips.